Russia spent decades building the perfect fortress, billions of dollars, dozens of warships, surface-to-air missile batteries layered so thick that military analysts called Crimea untouchable. So explain this. In a single night, Ukraine hit 8 separate military targets inside that fortress simultaneously, and Russia's most advanced air defense network couldn't stop a single one. Stay with me, because what happened on the night of April 25th is not just a military story. It is the story of an empire's myth collapsing in real time. For over a decade, Putin treated Crimea like a crown jewel, not just strategically, but personally. After annexing it in 2014, he poured resources into the peninsula with obsessive intensity, the Crimean Bridge connecting it to mainland Russia. 10 or more S-400 air defense batteries, the most advanced Russia possesses, a fully operational Black Sea Fleet naval base in Sevastopol, a combat airfield at Belbek housing some of Russia's most lethal aircraft. Crimea was not just defended, it was transformed into the most fortified military zone in the entire war. Putin's message to the world was simple and deliberate. This place is unreachable. Ukraine cannot touch it. And for years, that message held weight. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, drop a comment below right now. It tells us what you want more of, and we post updated analysis every single day. Then came April 25th, 2026. The Ukrainian Security Services Elite Alpha unit launched a coordinated drone assault unlike anything seen before in this war. No boots on the ground, no pilots in the sky. The entire operation was executed remotely using Ukrainian-built, long-range drones flying at ultra-low altitudes, shielded by electronic warfare systems, moving in coordinated swarm formations. Over 300 drones entered Crimea from multiple directions simultaneously. The governor of Sevastopol, Russia's own appointed official, admitted the city endured a massive attack and claimed 71 drones were intercepted. Here is where the math becomes brutal. If over 300 drones were launched and 71 were shot down, that means more than 230 reached their targets. 8 critical targets were struck in a single night. Now here is the question military analysts across the world are now asking: how does the most heavily defended peninsula in the war get penetrated this completely? The answer is more alarming for Moscow than the strikes themselves. Keep watching, because this is where it gets deeply serious. 3 warships were hit at sea that night, and each loss tells a different story about what Russia is losing. The Yamal, an amphibious assault ship built to carry troops, tanks, and armored vehicles directly onto enemy shores. This is the kind of vessel that gave Russia the ability to threaten a naval landing on Odessa in 2022 and pin down thousands of Ukrainian troops on coastal defense. Gone. The Nikolai Filchenkov, a Soviet-era cargo ship that served as a critical link in Russia's Syria Express, the supply route used to move heavy military cargo that cannot fit on a truck or plane. Gone. And then there is the ship that should concern Moscow most, the Ivan Kurs. Not a warship in the traditional sense. The Ivan Kurs was a signals intelligence vessel. It monitored enemy communications, collected electronic intelligence, and gave Russia the ability to see threats developing beyond the horizon. Ukraine didn't just sink ships. In a single operation, it degraded Russia's naval mobility, its logistical backbone, and its intelligence-gathering eyes simultaneously. That level of targeting precision is not luck. That is a calculated strategy. And if you want to understand just how calculated it truly is, you need to hear what happened at Belbek airfield that same night, because this is the detail most people completely miss. Like this video right now if you didn't know about this part of the operation, it helps us reach people who need to see this. While the harbor burned, Ukraine simultaneously struck the Belbek military airfield. The target, a MiG-31 interceptor sitting on the tarmac. This aircraft is not just any fighter jet. The MiG-31 is the only platform in Russia's arsenal capable of launching the Kinzhal hypersonic missile, the weapon Putin has repeatedly called unstoppable and used as a centerpiece of Russia's military deterrence narrative. Here is the critical detail that changes everything. Russia stopped producing MiG-31s in 1993. There is no production line. There is no replacement pipeline. Every MiG-31 lost is permanently gone, And Ukraine didn't stop at the aircraft. Maintenance hangars and service infrastructure at Belbek were also destroyed, the facilities that keep the remaining jets operational. As one military analyst put it, destroying the garage is often more effective than destroying the car. But even this was not the most strategically significant part of the night's operation. What military planners quietly consider the most dangerous element of this strike is what happened to Russia's surveillance and coordination infrastructure. An M1 coastal radar station was destroyed, a system designed to detect low-altitude maritime and aerial threats and feed that data into the broader air defense network. When that radar goes dark, gaps open in the detection grid. The next drone swarm navigates through those gaps. In the same operation, Ukraine struck the Air Defense Radio Technical Intelligence Headquarters, the nerve center that coordinates responses between individual air defense batteries. Without it, each S-400 battery, each Panzer unit, each Tor system operates in isolation. They cannot communicate. They cannot coordinate. A defense network built for collective response is suddenly fighting blind and alone. The Lumumba Training Center for Black Sea Fleet personnel was also hit, targeting not just hardware but the human pipeline that sustains it. Training skilled naval operators takes years. Destroying the infrastructure that produces them compounds every hardware loss Russia suffers. Now step back and look at the pattern, because this is where Ukraine's true strategy becomes visible. 8 days before this operation, on April 18th, the same Alpha unit struck 3 additional Russian warships in Crimea. That means 6 warships were hit across 8 days. 6 ships in 8 days. There is no historical precedent for that rate of naval attrition, and Ukraine does not even possess a conventional navy. During the same period, a coordinated drone assault on the Tuapse fuel depot destroyed 24 out of 46 fuel storage tanks and damaged 4 more. Nearly 2/3 of the fuel capacity serving Russia's Black Sea operations was eliminated in a single night. Fuel is what moves ships. Fuel is what flies aircraft. Fuel is what keeps the entire logistics chain functioning. And in March 2026, even Russia's supposed safe harbor at Novorossiysk was breached. The minesweeper Kovrovets was sunk there, proving there is no longer a safe port for what remains of the fleet. Russia's Black Sea fleet has suffered an estimated 30 to 40% losses from a fleet that began this war with over 80 vessels. The surviving ships have retreated into a defensive posture. They are no longer executing meaningful offensive missions. A naval tradition stretching 240 years is being systematically dismantled, not by a rival superpower's fleet, but by drones costing a few $1,000s each. This brings us to the question that defines Russia's long-term military outlook. Can these losses be replaced? The answer across every category struck that night is the same. No. The Yamal and Filchenkov were Soviet-era vessels from the 1970s and 1980s. Western sanctions have strangled Russia's access to the engines, electronics, and navigation systems needed to build replacements. Russian shipyard output has dropped by an estimated 35%. Constructing a new large landing ship takes years under optimal conditions Russia no longer has. Intelligence ships like the Ivan Kurs are rarer still. Their construction requires specialized expertise and technology that cannot be improvised under sanctions, and the MiG-31 situation is simply irreversible. Total Russian fighter jet production across all models runs between 21 and 50 aircraft per year. Most are Su-series jets. There is no MiG-31 production. Every destroyed aircraft permanently reduces Russia's Kinzhal strike capacity, and that capacity does not return. Russia spent $186 billion on defense in 2025. Most of that spending is directed at sustaining and repairing existing stockpiles, not replacing what has been lost. The industry faces a shortage of 4.8 million skilled workers. Precision components blocked by sanctions cannot be domestically replicated at scale. The losses compound. The replacement capacity does not. The secondary effect of Ukraine's Crimea campaign is something Moscow cannot publicly acknowledge, but absolutely cannot ignore. Every successful strike on Crimea forces Russia to redirect air defense assets to the peninsula. Every S-400 battery redeployed to protect Sevastopol is a battery no longer protecting the Donetsk or Kharkiv front lines. Ukraine has conducted 429 separate attacks on Russian air defense systems between June 2025 and March 2026. Each successful attack creates a gap. Russia patches that gap by pulling a system from somewhere else. That somewhere else then becomes vulnerable. Ukraine strikes there next. This is not a military campaign. This is a resource exhaustion equation, and Russia is on the losing side of the math. Protecting Crimea weakens the front. Protecting the front exposes Crimea. Putin does not have the assets to do both simultaneously. Ukraine is weaponizing that impossibility directly. The Kremlin's own actions now reveal the level of internal panic better than any battlefield report could. On April 27th, one day after the strike, the Russian government submitted an emergency bill to parliament, proposing the appointment of a single unified security operator for the Crimean Bridge, the power grid crossing, and the natural gas pipeline over the Kerch Strait, an emergency law to protect a bridge they claimed was already protected. Ukraine has struck that bridge twice before. If it is severed, every Russian military asset in Crimea, troops, fuel, ammunition, reinforcements, must move by sea. And we have just seen what Ukraine is doing to Russia's sea routes. The Kremlin is now legislating its own fear into law. Crimea was supposed to be the statement. The proof that Russia could seize territory and hold it permanently against any opposition. Ship by ship, jet by jet, radar by radar, that statement is being erased. Warships are no longer safe in port. Aircraft are no longer safe on the tarmac. Radar stations are no longer safe while operational. And the peninsula's only land connection to Russia now requires emergency legislation to defend it. What is unfolding in Sevastopol's harbors carries consequences far beyond this war. If a country with virtually no conventional navy can systematically dismantle a superpower's most fortified naval base using coordinated drone swarms, the rules of naval warfare have already changed. Warships worth billions are being neutralized by drones costing thousands. Air defense networks built around Cold War assumptions are being overwhelmed by swarm mathematics. Armies, navies, and defense ministries on every continent are studying these operations right now. Because what works in Crimea today will define how wars are fought tomorrow. The fortress is not gone. But every night Ukraine returns. And every night, another piece of the myth breaks off and sinks into the Black Sea. What do you think happens next? Does Russia find a way to stabilize its position in Crimea? Or is this decline now irreversible? Write your answer in the comments. We read every single one, and we analyze and update this story every day so you never miss a development. If this breakdown gave you genuine clarity on what is actually happening in this war, share it with one person who needs to understand it, and subscribe. We do not cover headlines. We break down what they actually mean.